Hello and welcome back to Howard's Cave of Wonder, show that's about one man's journey through the hobby. I'm Chris, aka Howard Blues, thanking all of you for tuning in for what should be an interesting episode. I was given a task, a request, to do something a little different. I know in the last few videos I've either been inventorying Bone 6 or painting Christmas figures, most of the Red Gobbo. But my buddy Kidder asked for some help. Kidder, Mark Kidder, he is a longtime friend of mine, co-host of a podcast with me called Beer, Blues, and BS, and he is a huge Star Trek fan. And in fact, one of his favorite things to do is cosplay in the Star Trek realm. And trust me, he does it well. He's a guy who takes great care to have as accurate of stuff as he can. And one of the things that he uses to do that is this jumbled mess right here. These are his captain's pips. For those who maybe aren't familiar with Star Trek, it's a way of keeping rank. And unfortunately, when he last attended the convention, he got into a little trouble as, again, this will be challenging. Part of the reason he has this particular set is it's magnetic, as you have just seen. And the reason for that is that way he can wear it around the collars of his uniforms and not puncture them with holes with pins. But the problem that he had was that the magnets came out, creating this jumbled mess. And of course, these are fine, rare earth magnets, the neodymium kind. And it should be an easy fix to just glue these together. Unfortunately, as he did that, he ran into some problems and ran into some issues as this piece, the holder, can see. You can see he got kind of glue everywhere, which makes sense. He puts in a dab of glue, slams a magnet in, that glue doesn't have any space to go, and it gushes up. Ta-da. So he ran into this issue, has a mess, and even damaged. It's going to be a little hard to see. You can see just a little bit of damage and scuffing on this pip from the magnets. So I told him I would take on the challenge of trying to do this. Now, here's the interesting thing, and this is where this is going to get challenging with the magnets, is these pips are designed so that the magnet sits inside of the pip. There's a space, and the reason for that is so that you have room for the fabric to go. So, luckily, a couple of these still have their pips in the right spot. So I have to put the small magnets into these. I have to put the big magnets onto this piece, and I somehow have to do that as everything sticks together. This is going to be interesting, and trying to do it in a way so that I get all the magnets in the correct polarity. And then, being the nice, awesome guy and friend that I am, try to fix the paint job on these pips, because I can't just hand them back to him in their current state. So this is going to get to be a little on the challenging side of things. So looking at it, I got one that's glued in okay. This one needs a magnet. This one is glued in okay. This one needs a magnet. So 2 with magnets, 2 without. I'm going to try and set these things down. Third one needing a magnet. And that makes kind of sense as... Nope, get back here. as I have 3 of these little guys that need that, but it looks like I may have a problem with these 2 kind of being glued together. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Almost. So I've gotten that one separated. There's that big guy there. Okay. First things first. I know it's hard to see. I got my 3 little magnets on this side. I got my 4 big guys here. So we got to start. Also, this thing has magnets on it, which is kind of okay because that can be a nice holder while I try and do this. First thing, and I should have got this out before. Oh, no, I did have it out. Excuse the camera bump. I am, because I can't just leave my buddy with this in this condition. I just have a aggressive sanding stick, and I am just going to try to sand off as much of this excess glue. And what I will probably end up doing is, before I hand it back, just applying some simple black paint and with a matte varnish on it, just to again make it look nice and tidy for him. Not that he's going to care. This is a part that nobody sees, but I like to kind of believe that if you're going to do something, do it right. He has trusted me to fix these props for him, and so I need to do my best to do that for him. Now, I'm not going to worry about this weird delineation on the back. I don't think that was caused by him. I think that's how this always was. We've got this, as I kind of scrape that away. Hey, I don't think it's even going to need all that much paint once I kind of touch up this mess. Okay. So big magnets, little magnets need to go in there. Need to keep the polarity. This will be fun. I like a good challenge. One thing I do wish I had at my desk, I don't. I wish I had a permanent marker. That would make life... Actually, I might have a permanent marker in my bag. Hold for one moment. The reason I want a magnet is I know that this side needs to go up. That's the side that will stick to all of my magnets that have already been done. I want to keep the polarity the same across the board. So I take just a permanent marker. I'm just going to put a little dot on it. Okay. Again, I'm just trying to mark them all, at least put a mark on them so I know. But as you can see, as soon as I come close to this holder, and this is why we had problems with it, they start to attract. What this is going to mean is that I am going to have to let the glue dry before I can put a different magnet on, even in that small of a distance. That's too much. Those things will collect. So I'm going to have to do those piece by piece, but I have a marker on all of the big magnets. So let's grab a little super glue. We're going to just take this a little bit at a time. I don't want a whole lot of glue. Okay, just enough. Now, there's a part of me that kind of debated, do I use some baking soda with this. If you didn't know, baking soda and super glue tends to have a chemical reaction when those two meet, and it makes for an instant bond. The problem with that in something like this is it also builds material. It also has a very short working time. So I want to make sure I get things in correctly and quickly. And so I would fear using something like that on this, just for the sheer fact, if I slip up, if I miss, then I have a problem. So we have one magnet in. I'm going to let that super glue dry. Now for a different challenge. I need to get those small ones, because I'm going to kind of have to alternate back and forth. That's the best way for me to do this. I got to get those small magnets into those pips, and that could be a little on the tricky side. But I have a plan. It involves paintbrush and a little sticky tack. Yeah, a little sticky tack. The thing about it is, I want to try to get these in there. I have to get them in and slid into place because they're depressed in. I don't have a problem getting my glue in there. I have a problem trying to get the pips in there. So I am going to just apply a little sticky tack to the end of my brush. Okay. I'm going to try and get one of these little magnets off. The problem with the little guys is that they are a pain to try and separate. So now let's check the polarity. I have it here. I'm going to just set it off to the side over here. Grab my pip. Open the old super glue. Now I also want to make sure I don't overdo the glue. My thing is, I want just a fine little bit of glue. And then take my magnet, put it in. Use my brush to get it in there. Use another brush just to push it down into place. And it's okay that I have a little glue kind of build up around it. I want it to stay. So that one's drying. Some people say that waiting for paint to dry is the most boring thing. I think waiting for super glue to dry is right up there. There's not enough beer in the world to make me want to just sit and watch super glue dry. So while that's drying, and I wait, let's talk about what I've been up to. Because I have been up to stuff. I actually, when I'm not filming for this show, I was able to surprisingly get down here one morning to do a little painting, and that to me was great. I continued on my gallows, not a whole lot. Applied some nice gray to the blade to it because I was using it on a different model, and I was just like, oh, I could use that. And then once I had my silver, that should look good. One thing I noticed is that in my sloppy base coating of this, like hold it up like this, It looks like there's a lot of shadow where that cross member where that blade is. As I knock it back out of focus. There we go. Nope. How we're just mispainting that whole section. Told you. I'm a bit of a rank amateur. Even I make mistakes. But I ended up painting a couple of other things. These were things that have just been living on my desk, and I need to get them off. They're in what I call my pile of shame. My pile of shame is different than most painters' pile of shame. For most painters, their pile of shame is any classic mini that they haven't painted yet. I don't like viewing it that way. To me, that's part of a pile of opportunity. I have the opportunity to paint this wonderful thing. But that is different than my pile of shame. My pile of shame is anything that I have maybe started, this guy, and just haven't finished. I haven't done the finishing details on. I got stopped. Some of these for multiple reasons. Anyway, I had a couple of those. I had this lovely half-orc monk from Reaper Miniatures. I was just like, why not? I have kind of a greenish gray color. And I just decided, what the heck? And just started base coating him in. And liking the look of it. He's making some great progress there. Well, I had that color out, and the colors I was working there. I had this other monk that originally had more of a sky blue cloak and a white shirt. I know it looks white now. It's more of a cream at this moment. I took a lot of the colors off of that monk, the orc monk, and started painting it on here, and I'm liking the looks better. So just a couple of models that I'm trying to kind of just wrap up. The human monk I had already started, and I had this color scheme in my head, and I think I started on it. And instead of thinking about it from a painter perspective and starting with my darker colors and working my way up, I just painted on the highlight. I just went bright sky blue because that was the color I wanted it, and bright yellow because that's the color I wanted it, and clean crisp white because that's the color I wanted it. And I got the skin done to a point that I was like, okay, I'm happy with this for a monk. I figure it's just a generic hero. And then I got stuck because I'm like, I have to shade down and then try and build up, and I got lost in the sauce, and that was kind of it. He sat here for years waiting to be done. So now he's got some color on him. It's looking good. Looking good. The monk was just the orc monk. I gotta be careful which one. Cool model. Got him coated, ready to go. Got a base for him, all of that. And then it's just never been his turn. And so, I don't know. Just felt I had an interesting shade of green. Yeah. Give it a shot. Okay. Back to the project at hand. I believe that this pip is in. Now, I am going to try and go to the far side of this thing, so that hopefully my magnets don't pull at each other. And one thing I could do I have anything heavy? I need something on the heavy side. I just had this idea. That's not quite heavy enough. Oh, this should work. I got a harmonica case. Oh, well, that's going to attract the harmonica. Well, the good news is the magnet is secure. Okay, I think I'm going to be good. I think I'm going to be okay. I was going to try and just like put a heavy weight on this. Didn't even think about that the harmonica inside the case is thin enough that it would pull. Yes, I do have a harmonica. Yes, it has something to do with the Howard Blues nickname. That's a story I'll maybe tell after gluing this next magnet. As I try to focus. Focus, Howard, focus. Okay, 2 mags in. Letting him sit. Going to ask Kidder a question. I know Kidder's probably in bed, working the early shift, so it makes sense, but he might still be up. And if not, it wouldn't be the first Howard's Cave of Wonder that I came back down for. So I think we can call this guy. It will probably be dry pretty quick after. Let's try and get another one of these guys off and onto. Yeah, if you're wondering, I got to wondering about my polarity, but just doing that and seeing how that repels that tells me that's good, because that's going to be the inside of my commander's pit. I find that when working with magnets, my philosophy is very much like when doing any woodworking. Check, double check. Measure it 4 times, cut probably twice. The reason I'm not a carpenter. Not a carpenter at all. Okay. Let us stick that in. Push that down. Perfect. Let that sit. I want to check this other one that I glued. Yep. Doing good. Getting Kidder's pips back in order. So, again, we'll let those sit. No word from the man. That is it. I'm sure he's in bed. And that's okay. My whole goal tonight was to get the magnets done. And I'm pretty much hoping to shoot this over 2 nights. And I'm just being honest. I'm planning to do it 2 nights. I'm hoping to get the pips done and the magnets in, and then come back tomorrow night and touch up the paint. So as long as he answers before tomorrow night, I can fix that, because that is my question, is if on this pip, if that is supposed to be black in there. If it's supposed to be black, great, I will make it black, not a problem. If it's supposed to be gold, I'll make it gold, just to help sort that out. It's just the kind of friend I am. It's one of the more interesting things. I got into this hobby to paint and relax, and I find myself doing more and more stuff for other people. Yeah, it's something about me. I keep very few of my miniatures that I paint. I gift so many of them away. And it's not that anybody is... Well, I've only ever been asked once by somebody at work. Our wellness committee, they do this golden coin hunt around St. Patty's Day. And it's a long story, but there's some shenanigans and such that I was doing with it and messing with the organizer, because she's a longtime friend of mine. And I ended up making a bunch of leprechauns and having them surround one of these coins, and she thought it was great. And I ended up gifting her all of the leprechauns that I painted. And it was like every leprechaun figure that Reaper Miniatures made. I got them all painted very quickly, got them out. So she got this set. I gifted it, and another coworker saw it and said, I would love a leprechaun. And so I painted up one and gave them a leprechaun. So that's about the only time I've done it when asked. I tend to just surprise people with painting things. And that's to me the way I like to do it. So I don't really do commissions. I don't really do that stuff. I just paint for the sheer fun of it. But it's been interesting as I've been in this hobby, the number of things that have just popped up that aren't really the hobby, but are kind of related. For instance, on the old set of videos, I made one about fixing a Christmas ornament because my son broke one of our Christmas ornaments. I'm like, that's a great way to show how you can use your hobby skills to fix a Christmas ornament. As if people hadn't already figured out how to do that in the hobby. Like it is one of those, like, I think I just looked at it as like, this is a great idea. And then, like, now in retrospect, I look back on it and go, I'm sure anybody who has these hobby skills would have been like, yeah, I could do that. I can fix that. But what was interesting was a different coworker of mine saw the video and came to me. He's like, I have bought this rare or splurged to get this collector's Christmas ornament for a band I really like. And it came to me broken. Could you fix it? It was an astronaut holding a U.S. flag, and the pole that held the flag snapped. And he didn't want to return it, but he knew that he didn't have the skills to fix it. And the fact that here's this guy who does models and works on this stuff there, he'd be willing to fix it. And so I did, and it was a fun little project. Fixed it for him. So I've done things like that from time to time. Okay, I think I started with this side, so I think I'm going to put the next one here next to that and then bounce back, hopefully letting them set. And I promise I'll tell the story of the harmonica and Howard Blues name, that because I know I haven't told it on this channel and where it comes from, and it pertains to this project. Let's glue. Ring it off. Put that back on there. Nope. USOB. Here. I'm gonna sit and hold this one because it's already tried to flip on me. I knew there would be some trouble with trying to do these as close in proximity as they are. I'm trying to do it in a short, like 30-minute time frame. Challenges. Anyway, so the name, Howard Blues, for those who don't know, because I haven't ever told it on this channel. Let's take a quick swig of my drink. The name is a nickname, and it's a reference, and it's actually two nicknames that came together to form it. Back in my high school days, actually, when I first met Kidder, when we started to hang out, it was a time that the video game Halo had come out. And Halo, at least the first one, if you were playing on somebody else's Xbox and you did not have an account or a profile set up on that Xbox, the way that Halo handled that was in multiplayer, instead of just calling you guest, they just gave you a random H name. And that's fine. And the first time I did that, I got the name Howard. And it just kind of stuck that was my profile. I was Howard. And so I went to Kidder's birthday party that year. And for his birthday, he was doing just a big Halo LAN party. So it was a bunch of guys. The only person I knew was Kidder. So I'm playing on this profile as Howard. And it didn't take long before these calls came out, and it's not that I was good at the game. Nobody knew who I was. And so these calls are going, who's Howard? Who's this Howard guy? Quickly learn at me. And in that group of guys, I became Howard. And we surprised one. I think it was like 15 years later. Maybe not 15, but like 10 years later, they learned that my name wasn't actually Howard. It's like, oh, I always thought your name was Howard. It's like, no, it's not. It's just this. So that's where I got Howard. The blues part becomes senior year of high school. Kidder and I entered a lip sync contest that our school was doing. That year, first part of homecoming, and it was one of those that we did, and as the Blues Brothers. Okay, I can tell that magnet is going in. It's not 100% squared up, but I think it'll be okay. We decided to do it as the Blues Brothers. Seemed like a logical thing to the two of us. And as the heavy set of the troupe, I became one Jake Blues. And so I was Jake and he was Elwood. And that has been our kind of shtick ever since. So I was Jake. Well, when Kidder got his first gig in the radio field, that's when he took on the persona of the man, the myth, the legend, the Mark Kidder. I helped him out with some radio things, and in doing that, I needed radio credentials, and so the first set he made me was Jake Blues, but then he decided the next time around to do Howard Blues, which was fine. I didn't mind. It made me feel. It made it seem like I was a radio personality, even though I was not. The closest I got to that role in my time hanging out with Kidder and the radio station for a while, I was in his opening audio package where I did a kind of a ring announcer voice to do, ladies and gentlemen, Killer Mark Kidder. That was the name, kind of that he was kind of rocking at that time with the Killer Kidder show. Anyway, fast forward, and we have moved on and are now deciding to start a podcast called Beer, Blues, and BS, Triple B. And in doing that, Kidder started making up the graphics for it before we'd even really chatted about how we were going to do it, or we were going to go by names or anything like that. And he made up the graphic, and it was Beer, Blues, and BS with Mark Kidder and Howard Blues. And I just said, okay, fine, I'll rock with it. And so I've been Howard Blues ever since. And that's hence why when I named this channel, it's Howard's Cave of Wonder. It started over on that channel as kind of a document as I moved about, hey, here's what it's like to rebuild my cave. Gosh, I really don't like how that one sits in there, but I don't know that I'm ever going to get it out to fix it. When the life gives you lemons, grab hammer. Difference. I'm kind of wondering if these are this side is the side where they're not sitting quite as nicely. I'm wondering, and I probably should have thought about this, if there was residual glue in the hole and that's why it's not sitting perfectly. So, because that one sank in beautifully. But again, I don't really have a great way to pull like these ones out. They're pretty stuck in there. So I don't think it's ever going to be noticeable when you put it on a collar whatsoever. It'll only be when you look at it in this form that it'll be tricky. But I think that is okay. No word from the man that met the legend. So, all right. Magnets are in. My recording tells me that it's about 41 minutes in. However, I know that that's not quite right. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop. I'm going to let these dry. Come back tomorrow night and see what I can do to touch up the paint on these so that Kitter's pips shine the way they're supposed to. All right, back for night 2. As you can tell by my change of clothes and a subtle background change with the purple. I don't know why I turned on my purple accent light. I just did. So, the pips have had a night to dry and let that glue really harden up, and it seems like everything is nicely in place. So, very happy about that. I actually was talking with my wife after the fact and just kind of stating I had a glue that probably I could guarantee could hold better than the super glue I used. The problem with it, and I was looking to see if I had it out. The problem I would have had with it is every time I've used it, at least the particular squeeze tube that I have, it's a E6000. It's more of an epoxy glue, but it oozes out so much, I would have had a harder time getting it through the holes. Now, one thing I have noticed is that just not all of the magnets sit quite equally the same in there. I don't know that that's going to have a huge effect on his costume piece. And in fact, it's a pretty subtle thing, but it should be okay for when he wears it. But tonight, as I said, looking at these closer, you can see, especially on this one pip, they took some damage. They have been scratched up, dinged up, and they're just looking a little worse for wear. I did hear back from Kidder, and on this pip, which I have stuck to this other command magnet, which could also maybe use a little bit of cleanup. But this should all be on the black, or black filled in. So to help, because I can hold this and paint this, I'm going to be a little cautious, but I'm going to use my my X-Acto knife here as a holder to hold that part. And we're just going to do some try and touch up paint. As I said, I might try to touch up that insignia as well, because it has clearly had a little bit of damage itself. And so the trick, the thing that I've had to kind of figure out is, what are my paint colors? What are the colors that I'm going to use to match? I will admit, color matching, not my strength. One of my biggest weaknesses.
You got that right, past Howard. Hi, future Howard, stepping in here because I did not realize just how accurate that statement was. I ended up recording about 30 minutes of me trying to match the color on these pips. And I'm going to just be honest and admit, through that whole time, I tried to keep this positive. Yeah, this is working. This is great. Everything is going the way I want it to go. But that's honestly not the truth and not what actually happened. Throughout the whole course of this, I was struggling. The first color I used was too yellow. I tried to add a little bit more of a brassy tone. Yeah, that still wasn't quite right. I tried adding a different kind of tan color to make it more opaque and blend it in so that it fit with the pips. I added a gloss varnish. I struggled, and through all of this, I tried to maintain this positive, yeah, it's all going great. and really, I felt the need to step in and do this alternate narration as you're watching the footage of me struggle, because I couldn't even really talk during this. I kept going silent because I was so in my mind trying to wrap around. And that's the thing that I wanted to share. I wanted people to know that with this hobby, It's trial, it's error, it's success, but it's also failure. I think so many times we watch other people on YouTube and watch other people's tutorials, and we see them perform perfectly. A perfectly beautiful paint job. Always great. And they don't often hear about the struggles. If we do, it's oftentimes, well, I didn't like this, so I tried something different. And it's this short thing. Here you're watching me struggle in real time. In the end, I was able to get the pips to where I was happy enough with them. But I would not be surprised if Kidder says, man, these don't look quite right. And you know what? If that's the case, I will surely buy my man a new set to replace and just apologize for my failure on this. It all was with good intentions. But I had said, matching paint, not my strength. And so I as I said, I think there's a valuable lesson. And this whole video is a great lesson in things just sometimes don't work. In the first part of the video, I was having all sorts of camera issues. From the webcam just not uploading the feed to Google, so I didn't have that when I wanted to show some of the things, to another spot where it just dropped audio, and thankfully I had a backup audio off the Osmo camera, so I had to boost the sound to make that work. Even the little joking bit with the hammer, I should have had footage of the hammer striking the pips, and my webcam froze. So I had all sorts of problems with this video, and all sorts of failures, and I have left it all in, tried to cover some of it up and at least make this watchable. But this whole video is a great testament to rolling with it and just accepting that this is the hobby. And I could scrap this video, and Kidder gets his pips regardless, and I could come with a different Howard's Give a Wonder. But I honestly feel that letting you kind of see me struggle is the best. I'm just not going to make you listen to that audio. That it was painful, even in the moment, to try and be positive and keep a running communication going and flow. And I couldn't at the time admit my failure because I just was so frustrated at the time. And now in hindsight, it's easier to say, yeah, I made mistakes. It wasn't working the way I wanted it to, and I was frustrated. I got it to a point I can live with it, and I'm okay with it. It's not my best work, but it should be acceptable and work for Kidder's needs. But just wanted to hop in and explain this footage that you're seeing, and maybe hopefully you seeing my failure will show you that your own failures are okay, and we learn from them, and we always get better. And that's part of this hobby, is growing and growing your skills and feeling better about it. So with that, I'm going to wrap this video up, and to do that, I'm just going to let Past Howard take this show home. But thanks everyone for tuning in, going along for the ride, and hey, hopefully this inspires you again to do your hobby or to use your hobby skills for other things. So enough from Future Howard, back to Past Howard.
And with that, I better call it a night. I got to work tomorrow, and sleep would be good. We've had 6 kids. I have not gotten a lot of sleep, so sleep would be real good. So with that, thank you. Hopefully this isn't the last time we see you around here, and hopefully we'll catch you all down here in the cave next time. Night, everybody.